Many thanks for joining us again on the newsroom. The House of Representatives has resolved to institute a legal suit against the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, following the expiration of a 48-hour ultimatum given to him. On Tuesday, the House issued an ultimatum to the minister to publish the names of lawmakers whom he claimed had received contracts from the Niger Delta Development Commission. With the expiration of the deadline, the clerk of the House has now been directed to issue a criminal complaint of perjury and civil defamation against Akpabio. Meanwhile, the Senate Ad hoc Committee investigating financial recklessness in the NDDC has concluded its investigations and has presented its report before the Senate. In the report read by the committee chairman Olubumi Adetumbi, he said the NDDC spent 1.3 trillion naira between 2015 and May 31st, 2019. He said the committee also observed process errors and infractions as well as substantial payments were made to staff in the form of unjustifiable allowances. The investigation further revealed that the NDDC paid 4.9 billion naira to staff for numerous allowances, including COVID-19 relief, tour duty allowances, overseas travel, and international scholarship. Curiously, the payments for overseas travel and scholarship was during the lockdown and cessation of flights abroad. It further observed that the performance of the Interim Management Committee (IMC) is a major issue, as the record of the IMC has not shown any record of prudence and it should be dissolved. Tolulokpe Arotile, the first female combat helicopter pilot of the Nigerian Air Force, has been laid to rest at the military cemetery in Abuja. Arotile, who died on July 14 in Kaduna, has been buried in strict compliance with COVID-19 guidelines. Now, this is according to Nigeria Air Force spokesperson Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola. Her funeral was attended by many dignitaries, including the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, Chief of Defense Staff, General Gabriel Olunishakin, and Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, amongst others. Arotile died from head injuries after she was hit by a car at the Air Force Base in Kaduna State. The Department of State Services, DSS, has denied the claim by the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, that its officials slapped an airport worker. FAN had alleged that Safiyanu Abba, head of the DSS at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, stopped an aviation officer from searching a visitor who set off a metal detector. In a tweet on Wednesday, the aviation agency added that during the incident, which took place on July 17, Abba slapped the aviation security officer. However, Peter Afunaya, DSS spokesperson, has denied the allegations. In a statement, he said the DSS promotes cordial relations with other agencies and prioritizes good conduct among members of its staff. He said, quote, "The news, as reported by sections of the media, has left an impression that is not factual and should therefore be disregarded." The Newspapers Proprietors Association of Nigeria, NPAN, Nigeria Guild of Editors, and the Nigerian Union of Journalists have named the newly built Nigerian Institute of Journalism House in Lagos after Issa Funtua. Funtua, a life patron of NPAN, died on Monday and was buried at the Guru Cemetery in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. In a statement on Wednesday, Nduka Obiagbena, NPAN president, said Funtua's contribution to the development of journalism in the country are innumerable. We'll take a break here to bring you updates on our COVID-19 coverage. Stay with us.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Now believe this Koroti. You know if you touch black man. If you like, gather the whole Niger, come together, make the cough. Nothing.
Which one you want?
Give me V and D.
I beg, get small pieces.
How much you want to give him?
Give me 200. Take your change now.
You don't want your changes.
My people, this coronavirus, na serious matter. May una wash una hands regularly. Come use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. If you no see water, wash your hand. Make una sit down for house. You see this virus, so e no get leg. Now we dey waka kurukere. No waka around make the virus for die. No forget say the betterment of our people now for your handy day.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Welcome back. Nigeria has recorded 543 new COVID-19 cases, with the total infections rising to 38,344. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) disclosed this on Wednesday via its official Twitter handle. Now, in that update, the agency revealed that the new cases were reported across 14 states and the Federal Capital Territory. And as usual, Lagos remains the epicenter of the virus with 180 new cases, followed closely by the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, with 86 new infections. Other states with new cases include Kaduna with 56, Edo with 47, Ondo with 37, Kwara with 35, Ogun and Rivers with 19 cases each, Kano with 17, Ebonyi and Enugu with 16 cases each. The country has been able to successfully discharge a total of 15,815 persons who have recovered from the virus, while 813 persons have died from the disease. Sultan of Sokoto Sa'ad Abubakar has asked district heads and religious leaders to lead Eid prayers in Jumat mosques instead of Eid grounds. The spiritual head of Muslims in the country gave the advice while declaring July 31st as the celebration of Eid al-Kabir. Eid al-Kabir, which literally means Feast of Sacrifice, is an Islamic festival involving the killing of rams to commemorate the willingness of Prophet Ibrahim to follow Allah's command to sacrifice his son Ismail. In a statement on Wednesday, Abubakar called on Muslim faithful to pray for peace, progress, and development in Nigeria. The United Arab Emirates has ordered Nigerians with expired visas to leave the country on or before August 17th. In a statement on Tuesday, the Nigerian embassy in Abu Dhabi said the UAE has granted waivers on fines and penalties on visas that expired before March 1st, 2020. The embassy urged affected citizens to submit their papers for immigration processing. It said Nigerians are advised to join the evacuation flight arranged from the country before the deadline. The statement also announced that an Air Peace flight will evacuate willing Nigerians from the country on the 1st of August 2020, while there will be subsequent evacuation flights thereafter. Nigeria has been evacuating hundreds of its citizens stranded abroad due to the coronavirus lockdown imposed by many countries. South Africa has announced a record 24-hour increase of 572 coronavirus deaths, bringing its total number of fatalities to 5,940. The country is the worst affected in Africa and among the top 5 in the world in terms of confirmed cases, with 394,948 infections reported to date. Almost half the total number of deaths have been reported in the Western Cape province, while the majority of positive cases are in Gauteng, which is South Africa's financial hub and epicenter of the outbreak. Meanwhile, almost 60% of the country's COVID-19 patients have so far recovered from the virus. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has tested positive for COVID-19 again. His office announced this on Wednesday, saying he would extend his 2-week quarantine and suspend upcoming travel plans. The far-right leader has faced criticism for downplaying the pandemic and flaunting social distancing measures, and has been in self-isolation in the presidential palace in Brasilia since he first tested positive on July 7. Bolsonaro, who is 65, has famously compared the virus to a little flu and attacked stay-at-home measures and other guidelines from public health officials. Until he was infected, he regularly hit the streets of Brasilia without a face mask, exchanging hugs and handshake with supporters and urging Latin America's biggest country to get back to work despite its rapidly spreading outbreak. And to business now, the Nigerian Senate has withdrawn from the request for cancellation of the Azura and ACU gas power agreement the federal government had with companies in 2015. The upper chamber noted that the agreement on Azura Power would cost Nigeria $1.2 billion in its foreign reserves if it decides to exit the pool call option agreement. Following inefficiency of the plant, some lawmakers moved a motion for the cancellation of the agreement, but Chairman of the Committee on Power, Gabriel Suswan, told lawmakers that a fine of about $1.2 billion would be slammed on the country and it will be withdrawn from foreign reserve.
We have installed capacity of 13,000 megawatts. Meanwhile, transmission are saying that they can wheel about 7,000. And then distribution are saying that, well, what we can take is only 3,500. So there has to be an alignment. If we are generating 13,000 and transmission is wheeling 13,000 and distribution is also distributing 13,000, Mr. President, the problem of electricity supply in this country would have been solved. So we realize that there has to be an alignment in the sector for us to achieve, or for the President to achieve, the promise which he made to Nigeria of giving them electricity.
As a parliament, let us get copies of all those agreements. Let us get people who are experts to give us an independent assessment and interpretation, clause by clause, of those, whether we can have exculpatory causes. I don't believe there's an agreement that cannot be faulted, and I don't believe an agreement that pay 100% obligation to service it.
Clearly, those agreements will need to be cancelled because they don't have capacity. Because listening to my colleague OUK, for even if it takes 100 years, there will be no solution, no matter what the kind of money you pump in. We're going to be back to square one. So something very, very drastic and radical, will have to be done here.
If we will be giving these people, these companies, 700 billion, 600 billion, to the tune of over 1.5 trillion at the moment, and this thing is endless, I think the time has come for us to consider this privatization.
A man armed with a grenade has escaped arrest and took a senior Ukrainian policeman hostage in the central city of Poltava. Ukraine's Deputy Interior Minister explained that the police were trying to arrest a man suspected of hijacking a vehicle when he took out a grenade and threatened to kill one of the officers. After negotiations, the man exchanged a police officer for a police colonel and drove off with him in a car provided by the police. It is the second hostage taken in Ukraine in 3 days. On Tuesday, an armed man held 13 people captive on a bus for hours before releasing them after President Volodymyr Zelensky met one of the gunman's unusual demand, which was to endorse a 2005 documentary about humanity's abuse of animals. Former Arsenal boss Unai Emery has been appointed as head coach of La Liga side Villarreal on a 3-year deal. The Spaniard was relieved of his duties at Emirates Stadium in November 2019 after just 18 months in North London. He was acquired by the Gunners as successor to the legendary Arsene Wenger, but found it difficult to fill the big coaching shoes and delivered on expectation. Villarreal ended the 2019-2020 campaign with a 5th place finish in La Liga, meaning that they will be taking part in the Europa League's next season, a competition that Emery boasts a rich history in. And that's the latest from the newsroom. Many thanks for watching. Bye for now.